Well, here we are back in the rescue house, and I wanted to do a short video on our progress. It's really come along. It's just about ready to move in, and as you can see, our homeowner has a whole lot of stuff ready to go as soon as we get our building final and we get approval for them to actually live in the house. So one of the things that I wanted to show you in this is one of the first things that I consulted with this homeowner on was the importance of making all of these doorways square and plumb, because they weren't when we got here. They were crooked. If you go back and look at some of the earlier videos I did of this house, you'll see them. So it was a huge improvement, and the real difference maker in getting these things straight is when you have these tray ceilings and you have these lights up in them, because you can see every flaw, particularly when you have white walls and you have all this natural light. So we had to come back through and refloat and redo the edges and the corners and get, because they were all out of square, all out of level, and they're still not perfect, but they're a whole lot better than they were. We were sort of limited on some of the things we could do. On the fireplace, this is a product that's new to me, and it's actually a real slate product. It's called Air Slate, and it goes on in panels that are real thin. I did a video of them installing this, but this is how the fireplace ended up. Now, this piece of glass right here, that's right here, we had to install because when they originally did the fireplace, the owner had somebody tear it out, and they took out the smoke chamber, and that would not pass code. And so I told him that I thought this would have a good look and kind of getting past code. We'll find out what the inspector thinks of it, but I think it came out looking pretty sharp. I like the glass. In this room, we had to redo this entire square. We also had to redo, as much as we could, the circle. Nothing was square, nothing was round. You know, it was just not well done. Now we do have that light in. So we had to actually rebuild this entire little pan ceiling. I don't know what you call it. It's a tray ceiling with this flat pan in the middle. We had to kind of completely rebuild it because none of it lined up and it was out of level. So where you had these edges right up through here, it didn't line up properly. And when you looked at it, and this was before we had any lights on, it really looked awful. They put in, of course, we tiled the floor. It's beautiful tile, large format. And then we've put in these lights. I love the lights that our client has selected and put up here. Very modern, very nice looking. There's another one right here. We've come and redone all of these corners, all these edges. The walls need another coat of paint, but we're not quite there yet. We installed all the light fixtures. Our challenge with these square light fixtures is that the original electrician really did a poor job of lining things up. So we had to get up and realign everything with all of these lights, all these lights up in this ceiling. Everything was out of kilter. So we had quite a challenge making all of that work. We also had a challenge up here with all of this stuff. You know, nothing was done quite right. This is the kitchen, and the thing about this kitchen is these cabinets had to fit inside this area right here, under this fur down and inside the openings. It was very specific on the size that those openings needed to be to make this particular cabinet fit in here, and it was all wrong. So we ended up having to rebuild all of this. It also had a big sag right up here, so we redid all that, reframed it, re-sheetrocked it, put his lights in that he wanted, and so I think it came out really good. This is the island. And what I had to do in this island is we had to redo all the electrical in it because the previous electrician had everything running on one circuit, but you can't run the dishwasher, the warming drawer, the microwave drawer, and the disposal. You can't run all of that on one circuit. So we had to go in, and since this is in the middle of a slab, we had to pull new wiring through the conduit, and my electrician went in and rewired it. Incidentally, that's Intex Electric, and they're pretty amazing. They did a great job here. So also what I really think is cool on this island is this pop-up, this is a pop-up plug outlet, which is very cool, very cool. Just push it down and it's out of the way. I think that's cool. The real challenge I had in here was that this wall was way out of plumb and it had a big hump in it. So the cabinets wouldn't sit flat against it. We had to tear out part of it and reframe it because it had a big hump. But also, these light troughs were not put in correctly to begin with. They were out of alignment, they were out of square, they looked really bad. This is all in my previous videos. And it was a real challenge getting up here to fix them because there's not much room to work. So it took us 2 or 3 tries. We finally got it. And then we ended up having to refloat them after these upper cabinets were in just to get everything to line up properly. It's kind of hard to see from here, but let me get this. I'm trying to find the light switch. I'm not sure where it is. There it is. Well, it's not on for some reason. Okay. Anyway, there's under counter lights in here. And this is going to be the wine room when it's finished. And this is the media room. Media room came out pretty nice. Now, if you'll watch our previous videos I did on this, I had to completely tear this ceiling out. It was sagging 3 inches. It had been totally disconnected from the main part of the house up here, and it was actually pushing out towards this window, which still has a big hump in it on the outside. We couldn't move it. We came back in and we put a beam system in here and completely reframed it. And now it really is cool. It's going to be a fantastic room whenever it gets finished. Let's go in here. Close that door. Let's go up here. This is real interesting. Now these stairs, go back down here. These stairs were a huge challenge. The homeowner had his own welder weld a steel system that goes up, that was sticking out of the wall. There was just steel channels sticking out from the wall. And then he had somebody make these treads, these boxes. And when we tried to put them on, nothing lined up right. They were out of level, they were out of alignment. Everything was a big problem. We had to sort of get very creative with how we could get these steps to actually work correctly so we can pass our final inspection, which will be, they'll want to inspect these stairs. And then also get this glass on here, which was, the owner did this. He had this done. And it looks pretty cool. This bedroom, when we first started, it's actually kind of an office, had about a 1.5 inch sag in the floor, a big old belly in the floor. We didn't really know what it was. We're going to try and work around it until we discovered by accident, in the garage is below us, that in fact it had been framed improperly, and the whoever framed it did not follow the engineered plans and the engineer's drawing. So he put undersized framing, and it required us to go in and put about 5 beams, big LVL beams, to support this floor. In doing so, we managed to bring it back up where it's flat, and it's exactly like it ought to be, and it's real stout. Before, when you walked on it, it would actually bounce. I was actually concerned about the structural integrity of this room when I figured out what was wrong with that floor. Now you can still see, I don't know if you can see the video, but you can still see where these windows are a little bit out of level, some of them, a little bit out of plumb. I couldn't really change that, but all I could do was cosmetically fix these corners. And some of them you can still see look kind of funny because the walls that they framed them in were out of level. The openings were out of level, and the walls are all leaning. This wall right here is almost an inch out of level. You can almost see it in that door trim if you really look. That door trim has a different gap right here than it does down here. You can really see it there. This whole house has got big challenges with these walls. I don't know why. It's the way it was built. Part of it's original, but the new part, which is this, there's really no excuse for it, but that's how it is. And at this point when we got here, there really wasn't much we could do about it, but try and fix it cosmetically. This bathroom had to be completely torn out because the owner hired a tile guy that just wasn't qualified. Plus he was dealing with that floor that had the big sag in it. But when we came in here, the tile that was on the floor actually was loose under our feet. It had just been tiled. The shower was not tiled correctly. It wasn't waterproof. It would have leaked downstairs had we not fixed it. So we ended up having to tear all of this out and redo it, and this is the new shower. And I think it really looks nice. I think the color selection's nice. I love the pebbly floor with this accent tile. Some of it's glass. It's a mixture. I think it's all glass tile. Looks really nice. And so we just need a little shower door, and we're good to go. So that's the upstairs portion, and I think I like it. Beautiful view of the golf course. So let's go down here and look at downstairs, because we made some huge changes down here. This is the new master suite. When we arrived on the job, this pan ceiling pop-up was out of square, out of level. It looked really bad. It was real wavy. It had not been finished well at all. And so we had to come back in and redo it and re-straighten it. And it really, really changed the room a lot. Same thing with these windows and this door. We had to come back and redo all the sheetrock returns because they were done so sloppy last time. And what I finally got my client to understand was that when you're doing this modern finish or transitional, whatever you want to call this, it's super important that all your lines are straight and everything's level and square. Because if it's not, it stands out horribly, and really it could make a beautiful house look bad. This bathroom, you can see in our earlier videos, we had to tear out the shower floor and redo the concrete. The whole base of it was not done right. So we did that, and we also had to tear out some of this wall and correct a bunch of out of level. The wall was over an inch out of level, out of plumb, I should say. And we corrected that. We also came up here, and I'm not sure how well you can see it, but this ceiling did not have a slope to it. And when you do a shower with a steam unit, you need to slope the ceiling towards the back wall where all of your hardware is. And the reason for that is that if you don't, when you steam, little droplets are going to drop on you like a rainstorm, and they're cold. So you really need to slope them, and we sloped it about half an inch. It's all you need. It's enough to just make the water run down to that wall and down that wall. This is her closet, and this rest of this bathroom was a challenge because the tile and this was all existing when we got here, but the tile was not put up very well. It didn't look real good. So we set the vanity and the sink at a height that kind of covered up the bad part where they're just not real straight. Some places are not real straight. We haven't put the medicine cabinets in yet. And you can see there's a bunch of wiring in there because the medicine cabinets have a TV and lighting and all kinds of stuff. And so that's pretty much a simplification of where we're at on this project at this point. And I think our next video will probably be after they're moved in and the house is all put together and everybody's happy. Thanks for watching the video.